Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So today's going to be a little bit of a different video. One subscriber left a comment on my 2018 bullet journal setup if I could do a video on some kind of tips and tricks for beginners. So I've compiled a list of my top 5 kind of most important things to know going into your bullet journal and if you're interested in starting it. So I started mine in the summer of 2016. So my first one was the Moleskine large grid one, and so this one is well loved. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and so my first one I would say was very experimental in terms of what I actually kind of did and just the general setup of everything. And then 2017, this was one that my brother got me. It is, I think, the Peter Popper grid one, and so this one I kind of figured out what I actually like to put in my bullet journal. So it's kind of the same, and now my 2018 one kind of follows a similar pattern that you see in my setup video, which I will link up down below. But now, because things are going to be changing, I no longer, once I graduate, move back home, I don't need to do a meal plan and all that, so that's going to be changing. But for the most part, I found a solid kind of setup that works for me. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So my first tip is to plan in advance. For me, this is something that works out really well for me because I'm not one of those people that can just take a pen and just go in and it will be perfect. I like to have everything spread out because I always will do it all in pencil first, so that I will, if I make a mistake, I can easily correct it, and then if I'm happy with the layout, then I will go over it with a pencil or kind of a marker and all that to kind of make it look nice. But I think that's the biggest thing for here, because especially each journal is a little different in terms of sizing. So my Peter Popper one is significantly wider than my, I don't know if you can see, but it's a good centimeter wider than the Moleskine one. So you just have to, in terms of spacing everything out, I think it's very important just to kind of go in with pencil. That way you're not shoot, I don't like how this turned out, and try to rip it out. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just kind of have everything planned out in pencil, and then if you're very happy with it, you can go over it and make it definitive. So tip number 2 is to start off small. And for me, I think I kind of feel it's just kind of go into it just being experimental and not do something that only kind of people who are very artsy or professional will be able to do. Start out with small things. For me, in my bullet journal now, I just have I just do little tabs that I can fill in throughout the year. For this one, it's my book spread, so I can just fill this out, make it small so it's not overwhelming. I don't write down all the books that I own. This one is just ones that I kind of go through each year, or books that are on my TBR but kind of that I can fill in throughout the year, but it's not overwhelming, or kind of books that I pre-ordered, or movies and all that, and kind of TV shows. Or just start off small, so it doesn't have to be super fancy. I like this very structured design, and it's just really simple. Start off small. It's nothing too elaborate like my weekly spreads, which are pretty intense, and habit trackers and all that. So I think it's just to start off small and just kind of get used to using your journal every day, and just stuff that you'll utilize, and then you can go on to the bigger kind of artsy things that you always see on Instagram and Pinterest. And tip number 3 is to find what works best for you. I think especially during my first bullet journal, which I have here, there were so many layouts that I tried out that I was playing with and just trying to see what works best for me. And so during my early experiment, oops, dropping everything, but during my kind of early days, I was trying to figure out what works best for me in my routine. So a lot of what I have started out here, although I still keep this same spread, I have kind of changed the layout in terms of my habit tracker. I've added a few things, I've taken some things out, I've condensed it. So previously I would do, in my bullet journals, I would do the weekly spread here, or the monthly spread. Then I'd go to the habit trackers, weight trackers, goals, memories, spending log, and then my YouTube upload schedule. But that was just taking up so much space, and it's some stuff I would only write a couple things in there. So now I find what works best for me is more of a minimalist approach to it. So now everything that was combined over the 3-page is over those 5 to 6 pages is now condensed to kind of these two here, because I don't write a lot of the stuff in here for that stuff. And then I do have my habit tracker and weight tracker are separately. So it's still, I was able to find what works best for me, just because I've seen a lot of people have like a page designated to this. I find this, it saves pages and I don't end up writing a lot of stuff in here anyway, so it works out perfectly for me. So what works best for me may not work best for you, and that's why you kind of have to experiment from, you know, day to day, week to week, month to month. Oh, and also before I forget, for kind of choosing what works best for you, I know a lot of people, there's a lot of designs out there in terms of how you can, the paper setup. So a lot of people like the dots one. I in particular like the ones that are grids, and then you can also just do kind of regular lined paper as well. So that could work best for you too. So, you know, just find what works best for you. I really like the grid paper one, but I really want to try maybe expanding to try a dot one maybe next year. So tip number 4 is you don't have to buy the most expensive items. You can still use budget-friendly ones and then kind of upgrade from there. So starting out, I did use the moleskin one, which is a little bit kind of on the higher end side of things. I know the Lieberstrom, I will kind of write it down here because I never say it right, is one of the more popular options that is a bit more expensive. But the one that my brother got me for 2017 was the Peter Popper one, and it's very budget friendly. And I actually really like this. Not only are the pages wider, but the pages are thicker, so there's not a lot of bleed through in here. So, you know, you don't have to use something expensive. You can even use like this small little notebook that I've had at Target for, I found at Target for like $3, and you know, you can start out using that. And then also kind of for the materials as well, you can just use pencil, pen, like just keep it simple. I like to add some color to mine, but I don't want to spend money on kind of the expensive kind of artsy materials. For me, I just use kind of these, what are they called? These Papermate pen, like markers that you can get. Like you can get this pack for like 30, for like $12 on Amazon. So that's what I use a lot. And then I also have been given these gel pens as gifts as well. So you can use gel pens. You can find them at the dollar store. You can get a big pack of them on Amazon for really cheap as well. And then also the other kind of budget-friendly options are these Staedtler, I don't know how to pronounce them, the kind of like fine tip permanent markers as well. And then you can also use kind of the thin Sharpie pens as well, which I use as well. Kind of each one has its own thing. So you don't need this many stuff. You can just be totally fine with just a pack of this, and then you can use like colored pencils. So you don't need to use kind of items that will break the bank, and you know, you can still be totally fine. You can get washi tape from the dollar store. You can really go to the dollar store and find a lot of the stuff that you could use in here, and then kind of expand once you kind of get used to it, and you know, get more kind of high-end items as you go along. And tip number 5, I think this is the biggest one here, is you don't have to be artistic or have like kind of the artsy skills to do a bullet journal. I am not very artistic, like drawing, sketching, doodling, like I cannot do at all. So I think it's okay, like especially say on Instagram you see like those elaborate like drawings, and it's like, geez, I wish I could do that. But you don't have to be good at that in order to have a bullet journal. Like I've been doing my bullet journal for, this is the 3rd year now. So like I'm not artistic. Most of my stuff is pretty, as you can see, straightforward. It's very structured, which works for me, and you know, it's what works. There's very few drawings in here. Like the one drawing is this tea bag, which I found how to draw on Pinterest. There was like a little step-by-step thing, but like it takes forever. It took me forever, but like I usually stick to more of like these structured things that are just like straight lines, and that's what works best for me. That's what I like. I'm not the most artistic person. I don't have the best penmanship, but you know, it's fun. It's something that I like to do. It helps de-stress me throughout the day, and I'm not too worried about how, you know, pretty my thing is. As long as it's functional and it works for me, then that's what's important. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what are some of your favorite parts of bullet journaling, or if you're interested, or if you have any additional tips, please put them down in the comments below. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.